up, all my fight fans? So, with the recent signing of Francis Ngannou in the PFL, I want to ask you guys a question. What do you think about Dana White? Do you and the UFC? Because in this interview that he did with Ariel Helwani, he had mentioned quite a few things about the UFC, but he was also very appreciative of the UFC. That he owes no ill will towards the UFC. I'm talking about Francis Ngannou and Dana White, of course. But my question to you guys is, did they make a bad choice? Did they somehow not being able to really work with each other make a bad choice for their careers? You know, I'm talking about Dana White. I'm talking about Francis Ngannou. Is Francis Ngannou going to the PFL? Is it going to hurt his career or is it going to help his career? You know, he's going to be able to box now. He's going to be making a significant amount more money than he was probably going to be in the UFC. And of course, you know, so there's a lot more things that he has now with his contract. But at the end of the day, we still don't know who he's going to fight, or if anybody he fights, is it going to create any interest. Now over there in the UFC, there's not a whole lot of action going on in the heavyweight division. You got John Jones, who completely squashed Cyril Gane, and then there's some interesting buzz going on with Sergey Pavlovich, and then of course there's this potential. I'm gonna say potential because there has nothing been signed on the dotted line yet of a match between John Jones and Stipe. Now John Jones has already hinted that he's gonna retire. That John Jones, he has hinted that multiple times that, you know what, I'm going to be done after this fight. I'm not going to compete after this fight. But who knows? We could be right, could be wrong. Right now, it does seem like the UFC could use Francis Ngannou because it could use that big, gigantic pay-per-view box office draw with Francis Ngannou versus John Jones. I mean, there's no bigger pay-per-view in the world that's ever going to compete with that. 100%. I don't care who it is. That is going to be one hell of a fight. But at the end of the day, those fights ain't going to happen. Now that's my question, is like, did Dana White kind of mess things up by not allowing Francis Ngannou to have a little bit more power, not allowing Francis Ngannou to have maybe a little bit more say in his career, and especially not allowing him to go box? That's the biggest thing I feel like Dana White is messing up, and he could be potentially making so much more money for his company, the UFC, where he could be making all this money. He could be actually saying like, hey, you go ahead and box. At the end of the day, if you get knocked out, it's boxing. It is what it is. Just like a boxer comes over here into the UFC and all of a sudden he gets smashed, ground and pound, submitted. It's not going to take away from his career. Mayweather comes over to UFC and gets smashed by Conor McGregor. It's not going to take away from the fact that he is still really one of the great ones to do it. And especially the Conor McGregor, he left and went over there to the boxing and he got knocked out by Mayweather. It still ain't going to take away from the fact that he is still one of the great ones to do it in the MMA. It's two different sports. So the fact that Dana White didn't let Francis Ngannou go over there and box Tyson Fury at the time, it definitely was a very unfortunate, because I feel like Francis Ngannou had more to offer and more to give in the UFC if he just would have came to terms, and if Dana White would have just allowed him to be a little bit more of a free will. And I know I get it what he's going to say. Oh, well, if he has to do it, he has to do it for everybody. No, not necessarily. At the end of the day, you got to be a draw. You got to be a star. You got to be a reason why I know if I give you that chance to go over there to a different sport and compete in that different sport, you're going to bring me back a bucket load, a suitcase load, a bag load of money. That's what I need to know. It's not just some random, regular guy that's going to go over there and compete and all of a sudden they lose. Then what was the point of doing all that? When he did it, he allowed it to Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. He made a bag. He made quite a bunch of money. I'm talking about Dana White. When Conor McGregor and Mayweather did their thing back in 2016, 17, they made a lot of money for each other. And that's something that Dana White could do continually to do with other fighters that he has out there. There's other fighters that we might be a little interested in seeing box. If he would allow Nate Diaz to do that, he probably would have had Nate Diaz still within his own contract. At the end of the day, hey, you want to get paid a bunch of money, go ahead and go to boxing. But you're going to get paid where you're going to get paid here. I'm not going to pay you that kind of money that they can pay you in boxing. But if you want to be contracted here, you still want to do MMA fights here, then by all means, do that. And I feel like that's Dana White's mistake. I feel like Francis Ngannou's mistake was the fact that he could have potentially made a bigger deal somewhere else where he could get bigger fights. In the PFL, I see that he's going to make a lot more money. I see they gave him a lot more opportunities. I see they gave him a lot more options. But at the end of the day, there's just not a whole lot of interest there that is going to require me to be like, hey, I want to stop everything I'm doing and I want to buy that pay-per-view to see him fight that opponent. But I could be wrong. This is just my opinion, guys. But I would like to hear your guys' opinion. Let me know what you guys think about Francis Ngannou. Did Dana White make a mistake? Did Francis Ngannou make a mistake? Did the UFC make a mistake by all these guys not working together? Let me know in the comments, guys. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.